Trying to seal a deal just like last week. Trying to run plays and run it up like the athletes. It's in my DNA to have hope and make them.
Back again for season 3, man. Season 2 was a very, very well success. I appreciate everybody that was joining in on season 2, for all of my guests, for all of my subscribers to YouTube, everybody that joined in on TikTok and Instagram. Season 2 was definitely a big one. Season 3 is in full effect now. Episode 1 is really going to be a big one. I'm glad to kind of take that break, strategize, organize, kind of get some things in order for an impactful season 3. We have a really, really big guest here on the episode, man. I'm glad he was able to join the platform. And this is a big one, man. So, this episode with season 3, episode 1, this is going to be with Brian Boakye-Ansah. Hopefully I said that correctly. He is the CEO and founder of X Hydration. And we're going to talk a little bit about a lot, man. He's a student athlete currently at the University of Minnesota still right now.
I graduated last.
Graduated?
Yeah, graduated.
Okay, all good.
Yeah.
But still a student athlete. He has a journey with being a student athlete, kind of, walking that line of becoming an entrepreneur. So we're going to talk a little bit about a lot. But, definitely want to, thank you for being on the platform, my guy. As you can kind of see, man, I think going into season 3, it's just, I think I'm looking back at it and just looking at season 1, season 2, and season 3, and I'm thinking like, man, like this platform is growing, but I'm glad to have you as a leader here in the Minnesota community, just kind of being on the platform and just kind of showing love to the platform. So thank you for being on, and would love for you to introduce yourself to the audience, man, and kind of go into a little bit, about whatever you want to tell the audience right now. Then I'll guide you from there, my guy.
Of course. Thank you so much, Dior. I'm really blessed to have this opportunity to be on Perfecting Progression,
for sure,
and to be a part of this community as a leader in Minnesota. So I appreciate you for the invitation, and I'm so happy and blessed to be
Quick
here.
question, you got me thinking right now. Like, have you been on any podcast platforms at all? Like, what has the trajectory been right now? I guess for primarily you as a leader for X Hydration, or what have been the things that kind of opened up lately? As far as like, I guess we could say podcast platforms. I'll keep it there. Have you been on any podcast platforms before?
Yeah, for sure. I've been on a couple podcast platforms. The Couch with Rob Fields, Columbia Sports Management Podcast with Dave Omi. So I've been on a couple here and there. So it's been always a great opportunity. Super grateful to be able to tell my story, my journey on every platform that I go on.
For sure. Well, that's dope, man. I think one of the reasons why I asked that question is just because this platform with the name Perfecting Progression, we always want to focus in on, visionaries, executive leaders, community leaders, creators, people like yourself. So I think with just kind of coming from that, student athlete type of background, and then trying to redefine myself, figure out what my passion is outside of ball or outside of sports, I think that's a really, really pivotal space that a lot of us kind of have a hard time figuring out, and not just student athletes, that's everyday life with all human beings. So I think that intersection, I found like a niche within that, with trying to connect with a lot of different people in these different communities and have people come on the platform and tell their stories. So again, bro, I appreciate you so much, man. I've been seeing you do a lot of great work, man. And it's only up from here, bro. Like, I've seen a lot of things that you've been doing, so I'm very proud of you. But just to kind of go right into some of the journey tell, I want you to kind of talk a little bit about you being from Minnesota, a little bit of your background, upbringing. How did that look? Just kind of being from Minnesota. Kind of walk us through what city, high school. Kind of walk us through a little bit of your upbringing, how that looked.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've lived in Minnesota my whole life. Shout out Rosemont, Minnesota, if y'all are watching. That's where I'm from. I'm from Rosemont, Minnesota.
Okay.
So I grew up in Minnesota with 3 sisters and 2 brothers. Yep. So I've been here my whole life, and I love Minnesota. I love the city. I love everything about it, and I love my community.
Okay, good deal. I think when we talk about community, you talked a little bit about your siblings, your family, and I think where I would want you to talk a little bit more about is just that support system. When we talk about family and friends, like why, kind of get an audience, why do you think that's an important support system to have, going through sports or going through just figuring out a lot of, day-to-day things? Why have your siblings or your family, your friends, how have they been a pivotal, piece in your life?
My friends, my family, my support system have been super pivotal.
All good. Pivotal.
Yeah, I got you. Pivotal in my life. Yep. They've done so much for me. They're always there for me whenever you know, things don't go right, they hold you accountable. And sometimes you need a shoulder to lean on. I mean, life isn't always easy. So I have God, my family, and my friends, and, you know, they keep me going.
Most definitely. And I think, you know, we're just kind of talking a little bit about that, you know, importance around your family. Kind of walk us through, you know, how the sporting journey looked for you. I know, you know, we talked before, and I know I kind of misspoke earlier about you being still a current athlete, you know, within college. But walk us through, how did that journey look like, you know, elementary, middle school, high school? What were you kind of focused in on when it came to sports? Were you playing a little bit of everything and then it kind of got narrowed down? Or kind of walk us through how that looked for Brian?
Yeah, I was playing a little bit of everything growing up. Like, I remember in like second, third grade, you always play soccer. I liked soccer for a while.
Yep.
I thought I was pretty good at it. I played football, basketball, and then I started running track in 7th grade.
Okay.
And I got pretty good at it there.
Yep.
But growing up, it was kind of fun. I wasn't really the most like athletic kid. I was kind of like lanky, skinnier. And then as I started getting into middle school, I really started coming into my build. And, you know, so that's kind of how it happened for me. I just started getting really, really raw. Like, I was raw, but I was athletic, and then I honed it. And that's how I got to where.
And what events were you primarily focused in on? What did you I guess stand out in? Was it I'm kind of losing the terminology right now, but as far as the events, of course, on the track, but what are the ones that I'm thinking about when you do high jump and long jump? What is that?
The field events.
The field events. Yeah. Did you do field events as well?
I did not do.
Okay, so what did you kind of focus in on when it came to, you know, some of the track?
Yeah,
track stuff?
My main specialty was 400.
400.
So long sprints, but then I could go down. I could give you a solid 200 or 100, but where my bread and butter was 400.
That 400 a demon.
Oh,
that
yeah.
400 a demon. I remember that. I remember running that in high school, and I think I was more focused in on, you know, the field events. I love long jump. I love high jump. But my coach, man, he always made like the football athletes. Like, of course, we had to do track, but he usually made a lot of the athletes do the 400, bro.
Yeah.
And it was really if I'm being honest, we did the open and the relays. It's just I think if I can remember correctly, the relays, that was the end race.
Oh, the last event,
I think
the 4x4.
The 4x4, man, I hated that, man. Because I think that really let you know, like, who was truly athletes at the 400, bro. Like, because that's really a sprint. That's a full-out sprint if you really think about it. But, yeah, man, that's really interesting. And I think, you know, kind of going forward from there, so talking a little bit about your track and field navigation, so did you get, you went to Rosemount High School?
Rosemount
Got
High
it.
School, yep.
So you got was it a scholarship that you got at Rosemount to go to Minnesota?
Yeah, there was a lot of aid that I was able to get to get to Minnesota.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a hard decision in the beginning, because Minnesota's track program at the time, before I was committed, got cut. Mm-hmm. They were doing a lot of budget cuts during COVID, and the men's indoor track team got cut.
Yep.
And so there was a lot of uncertainty at that time. I didn't even know I was going to go to Minnesota. I was exploring some other schools, because like my dream school, you know, like growing up in Minnesota, like I feel like most kids always want to be a gopher. You know, that's what I was aspiring for. That's what I was training for. And at that time, it couldn't happen. So I was exploring some other schools. And then one day, coach called me. He said, "We're back on. You know, we got some more funding," and they took me on.
For sure, man, for sure. And I think that had to be ecstatic for you, especially when, you know, when that program, when he gave you that call and let you know, like, we're back on, it kind of kicked you in the gear of like, okay, like, I'm ready to put this work back in. And you knew like exactly, you know, what had to happen, especially when you made that transition from high school going into college. And that's a whole different mentality that I think we're about to go into. But I think before we get to that point, I wanted you to talk a little bit about some of the educational focus. Like, what were some of the things that you focused in on? Because, of course, you know, you being on a platform, you're a CEO, you're a founder, but a lot of the times people don't know the trajectory of, like, the journey. It's never a linear journey for, you know, somebody's, you know, pathway to success. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about, like, where were you at before, you know, as you were going down this route as being a student athlete, but kind of walk us through, like, what was some of your educational focuses around what to study? What did you want your degree to be in? Like, how did that look for you?
So I wanted my degree to be in business.
Okay.
From the jump, like from high school, I knew I wanted to get a business degree.
Yep.
So that was kind of there. That was consistent. I minored in entrepreneurship, so I really did have that focus to be an entrepreneur, So I majored in business and minored in entrepreneurship. So that's kind of where I wanted to be. And then moving forward, I do want to be an attorney, so I'm currently studying for the LSAT, intellectual property focus. So,
that's dope.
So yeah, that's kind of where it was headed for me. You don't really see that sometimes. I kind of feel like athletes kind of get a stigma like, oh, they're not smart, or they can't do this. But it's just like, you know, I want to prove that we can do this. You know,
for sure.
Black men can succeed in these fields and come on to be somebody.
For sure, and I think, you know, we have to a degree. I think, you know, that kind of comes from, how can I put it? We have I feel like a lot of student athletes have a, mindset to prove people wrong. And that's primarily within sports, but I think it kind of gets blurry once you get done with your sport, because now it's like, man, like, what do I want to do? How do I prove people wrong? What is my passion? So that is really, really great to hear about the mindset that you had at that time entering college, and kind of how it's propelling you forward even to this day, you know? So I think one of the things that I'm going to now, like, what made you have that dream, or what dream did you have, you know, when you had your mind made up of, you know, knowing what to study? Like, did you already have a dream of, like you said, you study, you know, what was it, the entrepreneur, what'd you say, what was it?
Business, and then minor in entrepreneurship.
Minor in entrepreneurships. So, like, did you already have a vision of what type of business you wanted to do? Or was it just like you just kind of wanted to go into that lane and just kind of learn a little bit, you know, learn a little bit of the ropes, you know, and kind of go forth from there as you grow as a young man?
Yeah, I honestly, when I first picked it, I didn't know what exactly I wanted to go into.
Yep.
I just knew that I wanted to go into business.
Yep.
But it was that turning point for me when I was in college, because coming off of high school, I tore my ACL before I got to the Minnesota Gophers. So, you know, I was just kind of sitting in my room doing recovery.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And, you know, I didn't know at that time, you know, all my life, like, I've been the track star, you know.
Yep.
And people are like, oh, you're going to make it to the Olympics, you're going to do this and this, you're going to do that. And I was like, that's what I believed. And then that moment happened when I'm just like, I got to where I wanted to get, but I'm injured.
Yep.
And that was pretty tough for me to, you know, go through that injury. And I kind of sat in my room like, you know, what if I don't make the Olympics? Like, what if I don't go professional? Like, what if I don't do this? And that's when it hit me. And I was like, I gotta do something. You know, that can't be my only route. Track can't be my personality. Can't be my life. You know, I gotta expand out of there. And that's kind of where it got me. That's kind of how
that your freshman year?
Freshman year of college.
That was your freshman year when you were injured?
Yeah, freshman year of college.
Coming out of high school.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think, you know, because that's exactly where we're going, where I wanted to kind of talk to you about the transitional phases. But before we go there, the work ethic. I like when you brought up you having that injury, you know, in your senior year and then kind of going into college. So kind of break down to the audience, like, what did your work ethic look like? You were kind of already in this phase of being like a star in high school, you know, specifically in track. You have this injury, you know, that can be very damaging to a lot of athletes, or to anybody going through, you know, being at a very, very high level and then going to another level where it's going to be an even more higher level around other athletes who are just as talented. So walk us through, like, what did that work ethic look like? I know you said that you were in your room, you were doing a lot of therapy, just making sure that you're getting your body back right to perform at the highest level. So walk us through what that work ethic looks like, because I think it's important, because I think having that work ethic, it carries you a long way. Mm-hmm. So kind of walk us through what that looked like, you know, and how did that injury, you know, how did it really, I feel like that injury was either going to make you or break you to a degree. So kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, you know, going through ACL surgery, it's never easy. It's never an easy road. So it was definitely tough, not only physically but mentally. You know, you can't do the things that you want to do, and like even when you're coming back, like some stuff don't feel natural like it used to feel. So you know, I had to work my tail off to try to recover and try to be the best that I can be. And you really have to go all in. Like when you're competing at the highest level, you can't really slack or take a day off. So I feel like I've had a strong work ethic my entire life. I feel like I got that from my parents. I see my parents work really hard, and so I feel like that carried over into me naturally. But yeah, like one quote that I've heard from one of my college teammates is that every Division I athlete gets the same amount of hours. Like, what are you going to do different? We all get the same amount of time. How are you going to be better than them? We're all at the highest level. How are you going to go past them. So that's something that I try putting in my head, like, I got to do the little things right. Make sure to do the little things right and take the extra steps so, I can get a competitive edge.
I like that you said that. That was a really, really good point. I think, as we transition and you go into your freshman year in college, you're kind of already walking us through one roadblock of overcoming an injury, getting back right. But also that, that saying that you just broke down, like we all have the same amount of hours, but how are you going to differentiate yourself from other people? And that's the same thing on my end, especially when you get to that next level and you get around other people who are just as qualified as you. What's going to make you different? Are you going to be in the film room a little bit more? Are you going to do things where it's going to, make you stand out to the point of, I can see visually that you're different because you're doing things different. Your routine is different. So I think, kind of going from there, I wanted you to talk a little bit about, you mentioned some of these roadblocks that you had, but talk a little bit about how I want to hear you talk a little bit about time management. Like, was time management from high school and college, was it somewhat of the same? Like, what was somewhat of your wake-up moments, once you got to college? I want to know, because I know for me, and I think I noted it because I feel like all athletes have a moment where they have to figure out time management. But I want you to, this is a free topic for you to kind of, walk us through, like, what were some of your wake up moments once you got to college?
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit different when you get to college. Yep. I remember in high school, like I'd wake up, do the 5 a.m. workouts, go to school, like you work out after school, recover. But when you get to college, it's a different beast, I feel like, because now you have tutoring, and then on top of that, you have like a mentor, someone walking through your schedule at first when you first get there to make sure you're doing your homework. And then you have track meetings, then you have track practice, then you have class, and then you got recovery, and then like your social life. So time management in college is definitely different from high school, but I tried to do my best to prioritize what was needed at the time and what I needed to do.
Good deal. I think that's really important, just because, with me kind of, being around, the youth as well. I'm always around kids that I'm trying to mentor, just kind of coach up, whether it's through football or whether it's just through other programs. And I think sometimes when I look back at myself growing up, the visual representation is very important. I think we have a lot of us, as African-American men, I do think we look up and we don't see too many entrepreneurs at the time, and it probably was a lot, at the time, but we just didn't visually see it. So the thing that's kind of coming to a forefront that plays a pro in this is we kind of in this technology era, where we always on our phones, we always see a number of different things. So it does help, help these kids, or help people going through any developmental stage, whether they're our age or older, that, everything, like I said earlier, everything is not linear. There has to be work put in. There has to be a certain work ethic. There has to be a number of different things that you have to really prioritize to hit that next level, because it just is never a handout, So, thank you for talking about that. And I think, so as we talked about a little bit of your degree, of your focus of what you wanted your degree to be in, kind of, walk us through, I think, when you were in college, when did those when did that entrepreneurship like idea, or strategic insight start to come of like, okay, like I can kind of see a vision now? And I guess what I'm asking, like, before X Hydration, what sparked this thought process of knowing exactly, okay, I think I want to go into like the food and beverage industry? Like, where did those ideas kind of start? If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I think where that started for me is, growing up as an athlete, you try to fuel, you try to be clean, have clean nutrition. So I was kind of always around that, trying to have the most, clean options that I can have and fuel my body to perform at the highest level. So I feel like it was kind of like a natural extension to me, being an athlete, in the health and wellness space. So, you see it all the time. Like, we used to be given beverages at the U, like a Powerade or and those kind of beverages, and you're kind of just like, okay, like this is what I have every day. Like, why can't I do it? So that kind of was a thought that popped in my head there. I was just like, I drink these products. I take some of these products. Like, why can't I make my own? Why can't I make mine, in my opinion, better? So that's kind of what sparked it for me there.
Okay. And I guess, as you kind of walked us through, like, some of the ideas that, that got sparked, what, I guess, kind of walk us through, I guess, I'll kind of skip over to a little bit of actually starting the process. So, like, because I don't want to skip over your track journey as well, because you had a lot of different things that you were balancing. And more so, I guess X hydration, this became a thing what year when you was in college? This was what?
Freshman year in college.
This was freshman year of college. So yeah, I definitely don't want to skip over too much. So you had this idea as soon as you came into college. So those were the ideas. Those were some of the strategic insights. But kind of walk us through like the development, like the road mapping of it all. Kind of like walk us through like how that looked, because for you to be a freshman, for you to kind of have an idea, and I'm pretty sure a lot of, individuals at that time that are coming into school, they have a idea of what they want to do as entrepreneurship, but kind of walk us through how that looked for you as an entrepreneur from freshman to senior year, and now you're graduated now, but kind of walk us through how that road mapping looked for you and some of the pieces that you put in place.
Yeah, it was a long journey to bring X hydration from ideation to life. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, literally, to bring it to where it's at now. But it's honestly a great story of how it started. I was on the phone with one of my best friends, Joel Carlson, and he's a COO and founder of X Hydration as well. And we just kind of had a conversation one day. A dorm room idea, turned into this, and it's kind of, the story is pretty complex, but it all fits in together of how X Hydration got started. So Joel Carlson, he's the heartbeat of X Hydration. He's a great guy, and he keeps the company running, keeps the company going. And Joel was a hockey player at Rosemount as well. We grew up together. Joel, could have went D1 in hockey, very skilled, very, very good player. And then unfortunately he had an injury in high school where he got paralyzed from the waist down. And but Joel didn't let that define him. Exactly. And so me and Joel, it was different levels, but we were going through the same thing. Like, I'm fighting this ACL injury, and Joel's, he's rehabbing, and we called each other like, man, like, what path the God put us on? What are we gonna do? And then I was just like, we should start a business. He goes, we should? I'm like, yeah, well, let's do it. He goes, what? I'm like, like sports drink hydration beverage. Since that day, we took it and ran with it. And I made a phone call to my older brother at the time. I'm 18, the younger brother just always, goofing around. And I told him, I'm like, I have this idea. I feel like we have the network, we have the charisma, and I feel like we have, the know-how and, the business savvy in us to do this. And I called my other brother. I'm like, hey, here's a caveat. I need $3,000 from you. As soon as I told him the idea, he said, I believe you. That was the last, like, he just got out of college too. That was that $3,000 he had, gave it to me, and then we started building from there. So
I love that. I love that story.
From the jump. And
that's the story that I wanted you to tell on the platform, bro. Like, I think that's a really, like, great story to hear, because I think with me kind of, going right to wanting to hear a little bit more of the development, how the process was started, I skipped a little bit over the belief and commitment and the patience. That's exactly what that was. You had to shout out to Joel, your guy, but I really wanted you to talk a little bit about, your brother as well, the part that he played in too, of just having that commitment or having that belief in you. Because when it comes with an idea, of course you're going to have an idea, of your own, but great ideas truly spark through partnerships and through, creating unique ideas. Like, you want to have a really good business partner that you can rely on sometimes just to have a conversation. And sometimes you guys are just kind of on the phone, just kicking the shit, but it's like, that's where great ideas kind of come from, So I think, again, like I said, the belief behind Joel and your brother, that's a next level of, confidence that's within the brand and within you, and making you motivated to say, okay, like, this isn't going to happen overnight, but we still got to put in the work, So that's why I really wanted you to kind of tell that story, because I think it's really important for anybody that has any type of, passion behind anything that they want to do. Like, of course, and I talked about it on last season, everything can be microwaved. Like, you can't put it in the microwave and think it's going to be done. Like, there has to be steps, but sometimes there isn't, a what do I want to say? There's never like a golden pathway to doing things, but you have to learn, you have to make mistakes, and you have to go forward from there about making your next step the best step moving forward. So I appreciate you breaking that one down. And then one of the last things about starting the process, what I wanted you to talk a little bit about, is the marketing piece. So like one, we talked a little bit about, and that's essentially what you talked a little bit about as well. So Joel, I never even asked you this. So Joel, he's another business partner of yours. How big is the team? Like, what is the team dynamic of X Hydration? Is it just you and Joel, or is it one more person? How does that look?
Oh yeah, the team has expanded. It's pretty big now. So it's a team of around 11 guys.
Yep.
Who are bought in, who are
Yep.
all into X Hydration. So my brothers are there as well. So I have two older brothers, and they're on the team as well. The president,
Yep.
Emmanuel, and then the CFO, Nana. So a lot of great guys, a lot of great talent in X Hydration. I'm Brian Boakye-Ansah, CEO and founder of X Hydration. X Hydration is a new, innovative aloe vera-based fitness water that contains ashwagandha, lion's mane, collagen, no artificial colors or dyes, no artificial flavors. It's a better for you hydration beverage, and you can get it at any Kowalski's in Minnesota, any Fresh Time location in Minnesota, select Hy-Vee locations in Minnesota, and nationwide on Amazon if you're not currently in Minnesota. Go get X Hydration and X out the competition.
That sounds good, bro. And then, just from a marketing standpoint, how have you and your team gone about how to market, a little bit of, because that's the next thing that we're going to go into, you talking a little bit more about X Hydration. But before we go there, I wanted you to talk a little bit about the marketing piece. Like, what, as we talked a little bit about the strategic insights, the starting the process, how did this kind of come about of, how do we want to market the brand? And I remember you talking a little bit about, before we hopped on the pod, a little bit about how different this beverage may be from other beverages, So kind of walk us through the uniqueness of, you being a CEO, a founder. I love to hear that type of stuff of just how you think differently from others and how you kind of go about that stuff,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So we decided to take a different approach with the marketing aspect of X Hydration. So we brought in Justin Coleman, our CMO and digital producer. So he makes sure all our social media posts, everything looks clean, everything looks premium, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we wanted to be, a premium hydration beverage, and that's what we were going for. So we wanted to look different in the marketplace from other beverages, and that's why the design looks the way it does.
I like that.
But the uniqueness of X Hydration really comes from the formula and what we handpick to make sure the beverage is different in the space.
Yep.
Most of the beverages you see are either just regular water or like coconut water. Mm-hmm. You kind of see the same things, and we're like, we want to be different.
Yep.
And that's why our beverage is aloe vera water, as a component of our drink that is very, very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to do something different there and make a drink, aloe vera based, but fully soluble.
Yep.
There's no chunks or flakes in there, and it tastes great. So that's one of the key components that we wanted to put in the beverage to make it unique. And we were looking at trends, and we were looking the way the market was going to shift. And we took that. Like, people are wondering, oh, how'd you get here? How'd you do all this? At this point, like, X tastes great, like the formulation is great. I feel the benefits. Well, I'm like, well, we were looking at this data in 2020, and that's where we took it, and we took it to create something unique.
Yep, I love that, and I think I really love hearing you talk about that too, because even me on the outside, outside looking in, and when we had the conversation, I'm quickly, before I even do my research, I'm just quickly thinking like, this is an energy drink. This is very similar to other energy drinks, but I love to hear why it's different. The things that that your team has looked into, whether it's data, how the market has shifted, why is it going to be a premium of a beverage that you say it is, and have me bought in as a customer or anybody that you're working with. So I love to hear that. And I think, the audience would love hearing that as well, and finding this type of beverage, to fuel their bodies. And I think that's one thing that I wanted to bring up to my audience. I know Brian had mentioned it a little bit earlier about, just being, bought in, being all in. And that's the theme. I didn't say it in the beginning, but that is the theme of season 3. And as we have these guests on, it's going to be, focused in on prioritizing what you are passionate about, but also prioritizing ways that you can literally go all in and finding ways how that looks for you. Everybody's all in is going to look different, but I think it's really, really important when we have leaders like Brian come on and let us know where he began and kind of where he's at and where he's, continuously going. So going into this new thing that we're doing for the podcast, it's a new segment. This new segment is called All In Moment. There's probably like 2 moments that I know you just already talked about that could have been your all-in moment, but I definitely want to be more intentional with asking you, while we're in this segment, like, what was your all-in moment and why?
My all-in moment was in May 2022. May 2022, my mom passed away. May her soul rest in peace. Thank you. And that was really my all-in moment, because me and my mom had an unbreakable bond, a very, very close relationship. She was everything to me, and she did everything for me, and that's kind of where I learned true love was from my mom. And my mom, was getting, very sick, and she couldn't really talk at one point, and so before that she couldn't talk. One of the last conversations that we had was exhydration. That's one of the last conversations that she spoke to me about, and we spoke together with. And so that's, forever ingrained in my heart. That was one of the last things she said was about exhydration, telling me to go for it. And so when she passed away, that was my all-in moment. Like, I'm not half-assing. Like, if that's the last conversation I had with her, like, you best believe I'm gonna do everything I can to make it happen. So that was when I was really bought in, like, and I have to make it pop. I have to put on for my parents.
For sure, man. I love that, man. I think, rest in peace to my Dukes, man. Sorry to hear that. And I think, even on that topic, I think, with day-to-day life, that's one of the things that we just always try to ignore. And, when things like that do happen, whether it's our friends, whether it's our close family members, I think that is another wake up. It's another wake up moment, and it really does hurt, depending on who that person is. But it is also, we don't talk about it as much, but it can be, we hate to look at it like that, but it can be like another driver, another motivator of just like, I have a vision. This is going to be because of, X, Y, Z, whoever it may be. But I think just kind of going through those type of situations, man, it definitely hurts you to the core, but I think it gives you a driving force of making things happen, and never will I say, man, that has to happen to anybody. But I think, with just kind of talking about your all-in moment, man, I think that everybody can kind of resonate with that type of situation, So I think, that was, I'm glad you kind of talked about it. That's definitely a vulnerable topic to talk about, but I think, that shows the strength and the way you kind of attack things, as far as like making sure that you're getting things done and making sure that you're elevating, as much as you can day to day, and having her in your remembrance, as you do it. So I love that you talked a little bit about that, man. And yeah, man, as we transition, and you talked about, your all-in moment, when we talk about hydration. So as everybody can see, hopefully everybody can see, the beverages that we have here. We have strawberry lemonade, we have Arctic berry. So I believe those are the 2 flavors right now for hydration, correct?
Yeah, those are the 2
Got
flavors
it.
that we
Got it.
right
So
now.
yeah, kind of, what I wanted to ask you about. So now we're talking a little bit about the hydration. I love the brand, man. I love how everything looks. And again, I think I wanted to ask you about the marketing piece, because I love the way you guys are going about marketing. I'm really intrigued with that. Just even with my day-to-day work, I kind of focus in on branding and talent attraction. So it kind of folds right into marketing and trying to figure out how do we get people bought in, from an internal side to an external side. So I think, what I wanted you to talk a little bit about is the brand name creation. Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how the brand name creation came about.
Yep.
We're going through a lot of names that we're looking to do, and we just did our due diligence to make sure that nothing's trademarked. We didn't want to infringe on anybody or do any of that. So it really happened when I was in my car. I just was thinking through things, and I'm just like, X, that's it. And I've been thinking of names, like the whole team has been thinking of names. We've all been like doing that for months and months and months and months, and we couldn't find something that stuck to us.
Yep.
And then I'm like, X, like I know it's gonna be meaningful for something. Like X, like, you know, it's a variable.
Yeah.
You know, it could be anything.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of where we wanted to go with it. And then we just attached hydration to it to make it make sense for us, like X hydration.
Yep.
And so that's kind of how that brand name creation came about. And I feel like it stuck. I feel like it just rolls out right.
It's a dope name. I think I'm always intrigued with just, how entrepreneurs or how people come up with their brand name, because it has a story behind it, and that's another driver as well, so, I definitely wanted to hear a little bit about that. And then also I wanted you to kind of, educate the audience a little bit around adaptogenic fitness water. Because again, me on the outside looking in, I'm like, man, this is a regular energy drink. And then once you hit me with adaptogenic, I knew right away. I'm like, I don't even know what that is, Brian. Like what is that? Like, I know this is a beverage to fuel our bodies, and I'm looking to like have this all throughout my crib, had this all throughout, where I coach at, promote it as much as I can, because I think I'm gonna have you speak. I don't know if it's just primarily for athletes. It could be for anybody. But I want you to kind of walk us through, what does adaptogenic mean, and why does that fall into the fitness water category, I guess.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, X hydration can be for anybody. I mean, X hydration is a lifestyle. You can drink it while you're on a walk. You can drink it, before you're working out, after you're working out, just chilling with friends as a daily refreshment. So X hydration has a lot of use cases. But X hydration, it's a clean label, aloe vera-based fitness water, and the adaptogenic part comes from the ashwagandha and lion's mane in the beverage. So it also helps support mental clarity, focus as well. So it's just a clean label drink, no artificial colors or dyes, or all natural flavors. So the product's all natural, right?
Yep.
So that we set ourselves apart there to be an all natural, better for you product, honing on that aloe vera component. So that's where that adaptogenic comes from, is the two adaptogens in our drink, lion's mane and ashwagandha.
Got it. I love that. I love that breakdown. And you kind of talked about it. Well, before I go there, about the beverages that are currently available right now, the target audience. I know you already just said, the target audience is for anybody. But I've been seeing some of the cool things just from the Instagram page and the way you guys are marketing. Kind of walk us through, like, essentially, because this is kind of where I want you to kind of get into, because again, like, these beverages have made their way into stores, which is dope. I want you to talk a little bit about that, but walk us through a little bit of the target audience. Like, give us more of a deeper dive around, it's a lifestyle. You say it's for everybody, but is it, because me as a former collegiate athlete, I know for a drink like this, you definitely want to get it in front of athletes as well. And when you talk about fueling your body, if I'm working out, if I like to work out, like, I think this is a really good drink for people who love to work out. If you are in sports, this is a really good drink for people who are in sports. I want you to walk me and the audience through that a little bit.
Yeah, so X hydration is, primarily marketed towards active, health conscious Gen Z and millennials.
Yep.
That's where it's primarily marketed towards.
Yep.
But also it's for athletes, because it's a lifestyle drink. But X hydration has the benefits and components to make sure that you're fueled correctly, you're fueled properly. So we do promote the beverages to athletes as well.
Okay.
And we've been able to have some pretty cool partnerships,
talk about it.
Good partnerships come about from our beverage. So we've been blessed to work with a lot of athletes in the collegiate space on NIL deals. Liv McGill, who's at Florida currently, and professionally we've worked with, Josh Dobbs, Jalen Naylor of the Minnesota Vikings. So shout out Jalen, shout out Josh, Wendell Moore, and there's a ton more, and there's a ton more coming up that we're excited to partner with. But it's just a blessing to see X hydration extend and get that kind of reach and that backing of people who are at the highest level.
For sure. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about I think I'm intrigued with the approaches too. When you have, so we didn't even get to, the beverage being in these different locations. We've kind of, right now, we're primarily talking about the spaces and the type of athletes that you've got, this beverage around, and how you've been able to kind of market that through them. How has that approach, looked? Has that been primarily just through your connections of having relationships with them, or how has that approach looked? I think essentially what I'm going into, because we're going to talk a little bit about where can we find these beverages, and how have you made that approach with getting it into this location. So I'm really just intrigued with, I'm a natural relationship builder. I love to network. So I'm just kind of, with you having a team, that's another way of just making approaches. But I wanted you to kind of talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, we've been able to, get and build some very, powerful relationships with a lot of people. And that's primarily due to the support system and the people that we have on our team at X Hydration. Noah, Cash Money Claire, Cash. Those people, a lot of people know him as Cash, but Cash has been a really, really big part of the team for us. He's not a part of X Hydration, but he's like part of X Hydration. He's like a brother to us, and he's been able to connect us to the right people at the right times. And so Cash has really helped out with that. And also shout out Larry McKenzie, Minnesota coaching legend, Larry McKenzie, who's been able to, get us in front of the right people at the right time as well. And we've been able to take those opportunities that were given to us and make the most of it. And that's how we got to some of the partnerships that we're at right now. Like we're the official hydration beverage of List Sports Management, which is owned by Mike Miller. We're also the official beverage of CSG, which Noah Claire is now a part of. So and Derek Jeldon, and all those guys doing a great job there. So, dope, connections really, really come full circle, because who knew that, that would lead to that. I knew Cash from helping me getting recruited in high school to now, we're partners, and now I'm meeting you and One Goal Media, Alan and Aaron, like they're doing stuff for CSG as well. So it's kind of crazy how things can come full circle and how they can come about.
And I think, too, I'm glad that you broke that down, because I think with me being able to kind of connect with One Goal Media, Alan and Aaron, they've been doing a lot of great work with a lot of different entrepreneurs. And I think, this was just another space to really, amplify the podcast platform in a way, because I don't want this to be a transactional approach with anybody that I come across. I really am into learning about others, having them tell their stories, and nurturing relationships, foundational relationships that you never know where this could, you never know where, where we can bump heads again, or how we can do a lot of, things around strategic approaches and collaborations. And that's essentially the stories that you just broke down with the people that you're affiliated with, to expand more on X Hydration and make those approaches even stronger, So just getting that in front of those certain groups is going to be a word of mouth of saying, this is definitely the go-to beverage. You definitely want to connect with Brian and his team, and that's how, things begin to expand, and that's how you build a healthy and nurturing community. So I do appreciate you talking about that. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about, with these beverages being available, where can consumers find these beverages at?
Yeah, so currently you can find these beverages nationwide on Amazon. So we're on Amazon. So if you're anywhere in the U.S., you can get X Hydration delivered right to your doorstep. But our retail presence right now is mainly focused in Minnesota. We're going to expand through the Midwest. But right now, we're currently in all the Fresh Time locations in Minnesota. We're currently in all the Kowalskis in Minnesota.
Oh, that's dope.
So and then some select Hy-Vee locations as well. Hy-Vee's a big one. Hope Fieldhouse in Rosemont, where we're from, that one's a special one, because to be in a store where we're actually from, or be in a gym, but sold the concessions we're from is really huge for us. For sure. And we're just continuing to grow and expand and get into more retail locations.
Sure. Well, man, I'm a definitely say it right now, bro. Like, I'm gonna definitely give you your praise, give you your accolades with all of the work that you have been doing with X Hydration and the team. You guys have been doing great work, bro. And I think it's really honorable, to see, I'm gonna be honest, it's honorable to see another black man that's young doing stuff like this. And I think that's the power behind storytelling, So, again, I appreciate you coming on the platform, talking a little bit about your journey. And then also, as I'm kind of giving you kudos, like this is really dope to hear. I wanted you to talk a little bit about, if it's anything that we should be on the lookout for. So I know we have these 2 beverages right now. Are you guys expanding to, multiple other options for people to choose from other than strawberry and Arctic? And are there any other, collaborations that might be, that we should be on the lookout for?
Oh yeah, 100%. You guys got to stay in tune with X Hydration, because there's a lot of big things coming up from our end.
Yep.
We're looking to drop a couple new flavors, so I can't say too much, but
sure.
be on the lookout for that. There's going to be some new offerings from X Hydration, and we think everybody's going to love them. And so we're really excited about that. And partnerships wise, we got some stuff cooking up that I'm really excited for. Excited for the brand. We got some real relationship building and partnerships coming up, because relationships are everything. And anybody who says they did something by themselves, they didn't. It takes a village to to raise a child. It takes someone to help to lean on to become yourself. So we got some real cool partnerships coming up that I'm really excited for, and we're just going to continue to grow and expand and take over.
For sure, man. And speaking about partnerships as well. One thing again, bro, I'm appreciative for you to come on this platform. I would never be a person who's trying to act Hollywood or anything like that. I'm truly just blessed to have you on this platform and just kind of see the growth of where I started and kind of where I'm trying to go. So for you to come on and be on episode 1, this means a lot. And again, speaking of partnerships, bro, like I think, with me trying to make sure that I'm marketing the platform as best as possible when I have leaders come on the platform, having a drink like this on the platform where I can just, give to other guests and let them know about some of the things that you talked about on this episode and why it's important to fuel your body. I think this would be a really, really good strategic approach to have on all of our episodes. So just wanted to say, speaking of partnerships, like this will be, Perfect and Progression will be official sponsor for X Hydration. But I'm looking forward to maximize and help out you as much as I can. So I think that's the mutual benefit of you allowing me to just have this product on the platform when I'm having other guests and them being intrigued, and then also the audience trying to figure out how do they get in touch with this product. That's just, it's dope, and I appreciate you for allowing me to do that. And yeah, man, I think, it's just dope. I don't know if you have anything else to say towards that, but that was one thing that I feel like I think that was where the intersection definitely kind of came. We have synergy there, and I think with just you having this product and you coming on here and telling your story, I think there's, that's another way that we can continue to nurture the relationship.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. I'm definitely excited about it. Excited to continue to grow and build with you. I think that's what it's all about. Other Black men building each other up. And continue to partner and grow something that's real. So I'm really excited about that.
For sure. Well, one thing, man, I want you to talk to the audience a little about where they can find you, where they can find X Hydration, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on TikTok. Let us know where to find you at, man. And we definitely listen and tapped in.
Yeah, so you can find X Hydration on Instagram at Drink X Hydration. You can find us on YouTube at the same handle. We're also on TikTok, so go check out all our stuff. It's great content, and stay in tune for what we got in store. For sure. Well, again, man, this was episode 1, X Hydration with Brian Boakye-Ansah. Hope I said that correctly. You can always correct me, but shout out to One Goal Media and Alan and Aaron. They do the great work with with season 2 being very, very impactful. Season 3, we're looking to kind of be bigger and better. So definitely looking forward for the dropping of more episodes and more impactful episodes moving forward. And yeah, man, definitely appreciate you for being on the pod, man. And hopefully everybody loves the episode. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment. Check out the TikTok, the TikTok page for Perfect and Progression. Definitely on Instagram, and definitely trying to grow as much as possible, man. So signing out.
Trying to seal a deal just like last week. Trying to run plays and run it up like the mathletes. It's in my DNA to have hope and make a way. Good energy will hit that MJ fade away. Miss me with the hate and now, bruh, not today. Stay